Good evening, everybody. I'm Joey Jones, along with Anita Vogel, Lisa Booth, and Gianno Caldwell, and welcome. This is the Big Weekend Show. We got a big story tonight. Activists are marching across the country this weekend as part of a nationwide ICE Out Everywhere protest. Last night in Los Angeles, several agitators were arrested after clashing with police. Yeah, and right here in New York City, thousands participated in national shutdown, calling out of work to protest in the streets. The state leaders are listening to their demands as Governor Kathy Hochul is working to put more restrictions on cooperating with ICE. Here with more on that is CB Cotton. CB, tell us what the governor's up to.
Hey, Joey. Well, as you know, in New York City, officers cannot work with the feds on civil immigration enforcement because of sanctuary policy. But, that's not the case for the rest of the state. And now New York Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul is suggesting that she wants to stop ICE. Yesterday, she announced a proposal saying it will keep statewide collaboration with ICE strictly limited to cases when an illegal immigrant has been accused of a violent crime. Hochul sharing this fiery message for the feds.
And you will do everything only with a judicial order, an order from a judge who says there has been a crime committed when you're coming after our people in the state.
Hochul's move comes in direct opposition to several New York counties who have entered into agreements with the feds, allowing for their local police force to help with civil immigration law. Nassau County is one of them, led by Republican Executive Bruce Blakeman, who is Hochul's likely opponent in November's gubernatorial election. He says Nassau County has done important work with ICE to remove 46 people with criminal records from the community within the past month.
We're not raiding daycare centers. We're not raiding houses of worship. We're not raiding schools. That's completely false. What we're doing is targeting illegal migrants with criminal records and getting them out of our communities and getting them out of our country.
So the immigration debate comes as state and local leaders are grappling with unrest. Thousands took to the streets in major cities across the country yesterday, calling for no work, no school, no shopping as part of a nationwide strike in opposition to the ongoing ICE operations in Minneapolis. In the Big Apple, thankfully, things remain peaceful, but in Los Angeles, a calm march turned to chaos as some were caught on camera throwing bottles and rocks at officers. The LAPD even said it took, quote, multiple violent agitators into custody. Joey.
CB Cotton, thank you. All right, now turning to Minnesota, where more protests are underway. Brooke Taylor is on the ground in Minneapolis, and she's got more on that. Brooke.
Hi, Joey. Yeah, there's a massive anti-ICE protest happening now. Now, we had a photographer there and a producer, but they actually had to leave for their own safety because they told me that these protesters started getting hostile. They were mad that our cameraman was there filming, even though this was going on at a public parking lot. So up to about 1,000 people showed up today for the so-called anti-ICE ICE Out protest. Now, it's the second day in a row that we saw thousands of people in the streets here. Yesterday, protesters were here for that national shutdown, so calling for no work, no school, no shopping. Bruce Springsteen also made a surprise appearance in Minneapolis on Friday at a concert benefiting the families of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Now, he performed his first new anti-ICE protest song for the first time, so that made its big debut. Meanwhile, Border Czar Tom Homan says ICE is going to prioritize arresting criminal illegal migrants and pull back from the broad street sweeps that we've been seeing. He says, though, this isn't going to take away from President Trump's promise for mass deportations.
President Trump's been in office just over a year. We got over 700,000 deportations between the Border Patrol and ICE. That's a record.
And in a big win today for the Trump administration, a Biden-appointed district judge denied a request from Minnesota state officials to get ICE out of here. The lawsuit accused the federal government of, quote, unconstitutional and unlawful deployments, calling it a, quote, federal crackdown. Now, Attorney General Pam Bondi, she celebrated the news on X, called it a huge win, said, quote, neither sanctuary policies nor meritless litigation will stop the Trump administration from enforcing federal law in Minnesota. Mayor Frey also reacting to the judge's decision. He said this was disappointing, but he said that it's only one step in this lawsuit, Joey.
Brooke Taylor, thanks for the update on that. All right, these demonstrations across the country are hardly a spontaneous assembly of outraged Americans, but rather a coordinated campaign to disrupt ICE operations and damage the Trump administration. The far-left group 5051 is the organization force behind this weekend's ICE Out Everywhere National Day of Action, in which they're holding at least 300 events. According to its website, it's partnered with the group Build the Resistance, which works with radical anti-Semites like Linda Sarsour, the far-left Congresswoman Cori Bush, and Leah Greenberg, the co-founder of the Soros-tied Indivisible group, and they've been planning demonstrations like these since last year.
We are the political leadership, and we are the leaders that we've been waiting for. People like 5051 movement, Building the Resistance, any groups indivisible. And we have to be the generation that's going to be on the record to say we are not going to accept what's happening in our country right now.
So step up, stand up, you all. Let's go. Let's fight this authoritarianism. Let's go and fight the fascists.
We are going to find all the different ways that there is power to resist them, and then we're going to systematically work those levers. Each of us has the ability to stand up and push back. Each of us has the ability to really organize and push our stories and collectively set up the conditions that get these folks out.
Yeah, it's not just big, nice printed signs or calls to action. Fox News found that anti-ICE mobilizers have been using encrypted signal chats in order to orchestrate rapid response propaganda and plan clashes with law enforcement. And it's not just the activists on the ground that are coordinating. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson revealed he's in regular communication with leaders of other sanctuary cities to create plans to obstruct ICE operations.
To respond to the operation in Chicago, I leaned heavily on other cities' responses. We've been in regular communication, both at the executive level and the staff level, with cities like Minneapolis and Portland, Oakland, Boston, and Denver, and Baltimore, to learn from each other's experiences and develop strategies to protect our constituents.
All right, Anita, that's a lot. A lot's happening. There are protests everywhere, kids walking out of schools, people out on the streets in L.A., they're trying to fight the police. And now we're learning that it's not spontaneous, it's not just impassioned, it's coordinated and orchestrated.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think we all knew that all along. Look at the people who are involved. Linda Sarsour, Leah Greenberg. I mean, these people have ties to the George Soros organization. There's real money there that they have been funneling to these groups, millions of dollars over the last 10 years. But, you know, as for these protests in general, they are going to continue. They're just going to continue. I think the key is Tom Homan coming in and having these discussions with the local leaders, the governor, the mayor, the attorney general. And, you know, he told the LA Times, he goes, look, you know, nothing will get fixed without discussion, without talking. And I think that's very true. And I think the temperature has already come down a little bit. But he also said this, it's going to take time.
Yeah, Gianno, I saw you nodding your head about Tom Homan. He was on Handy last night, and Sean asked him about Mayor Frey and some of the things, because Mayor Frey is basically saying, no, we want you out of here. And Homan very smartly pivoted and said, well, let me tell you what the state said they're going to do to work with us. So it does feel like if there isn't a deal being made, it does feel like they're making some ground and calming things down.
Yeah, and that's the hope, and that's the reason why Tom Homan was brought in this process, because he's someone who has worked with many presidents across different ideologies, and this is somebody who is dedicated his entire life to this. But I got to tell you, you know, these protests to me are asinine. I think this is worse than what we saw during George Floyd, and I pivot on the point that you made earlier, how this isn't just passionate protest. That's what we saw with George Floyd. They're doing masterclass on how to obstruct, threaten, and capture ICE agents. There's been bounties put on their head. There's been a 8,000% threat increase on those ICE members and their family members. There's been extraordinary damage done. And I got to tell you, I don't understand Why is it we're seeing black folks go out here and join these protests when there's a number of illegal immigrants that have actually murdered young black people? People like Dakara Thompson, who was 19 years old, a little girl from Maryland who was raped, beaten, and murdered. The person who was charged was an illegal immigrant. What about Laken Riley? What about many of these other names? Do they get justice? What has become very clear to me, especially as organized as this is, the Democrats will do whatever they can to get power. They are going to run this all the way up to the elections and then say, hey, we need to take back over the government. That is the plan.
I don't think you're wrong, and I think we've talked about some of these groups, Lisa. I'm going to go back up here and look at some of these that are funding these protests, and you have to ask yourself, to what end? One of them, I'm talking 15 minutes of research. And, well, actually, as you're seeing right now, these are some of the people that are being rolled up. We'll talk about that since that's what got put on the screen. This isn't like everyone there is Hispanic. There are people from Asia, people
everywhere,
all over the world that have come into this country illegally and committed crimes, and they want to paint it very hard like it's racist. It's not racist at all.
Well, by the way, these people that are out in the streets in Minneapolis and elsewhere in the country, they're just anarchists, right? These are the same people who supported the firebombing of pregnancy centers after Roe versus Wade was overturned. The same people that supported setting Tesla charging stations and Tesla's on fire. These are the same people out now against ICE. They just want to light things on fire for the sake of watching it burn. But by the way, these are the Democrats' foot soldiers. They're embracing it. They're intentionally winding them up and pushing them out. We've seen that with Jacob Frey saying, get the F, telling ICE to get the F out of Minneapolis, or Tim Walz calling ICE the Gestapo. They're encouraging this, and they're encouraging domestic terrorism, if we really want to be honest here, because these individuals, these radicals, are using violence to try to change government policy. That is the definition of domestic terrorism. So I think President Trump should invoke the Insurrection Act, because that's what we're seeing happen in places like Minneapolis. And to your point, Joey, these are the kinds of people that they're defending. They're defending, you look at some of the individuals that ICE got in the surge in Minnesota. We're talking about the individuals who sodomized a girl under the age of 13 years old, who were involved in homicide, 3 counts of homicide. So why are Democrats supporting and defending defending these individuals from deportation, and why are they defending these domestic terrorists?
Yeah, it seems like there's a real lack of compassion from the protesters about the families of these victims. We never hear it. They never talk about it, and it's just really hard to understand.
But the problem with the protesters, Anita, is when you corner them and you talk to them, a lot of times they don't have answers on why they're upset. They'll say things like, well, they've deported American citizens, which is not true. But if you talk about like how those protesters got there, the Ford Foundation, it's a $16 billion endowment. It came from the Ford family, but it's not associated with the family or the motor company. It's independent now. It gave $100,000 to this Voices of Florida, which is supposed to be about, I think, reproductive rights. And yet they're one of the 4 entities really pushing all these protests across the country. Then you've got George Soros' Open Society Foundation that donates a lot of money to build the resistance. They're pushing this out there. So there's these key players that keep popping up, or these political entities. Even the Walton family was backing one of the people that was arrested with Don Lemon. And guess where she protested? The Walton family that owns Walmart. Guess where she protested? She protested Target. It's just funny how that works.
Well, I guess she had a mission for her money. But there's a lot of folks out here making really good money off these protests. When you look at the numbers, some of them are getting paid $1,500 a week. Who knows if it's much more than that? This is a job. I'm sure a lot of us remember that viral clip with Laura Ingraham saying, do you have a job? Are you working? And she said, I'm here working right now. Yeah, exactly right. So, I mean, a lot of this stuff is meant to be noise. It's meant to be a distraction. It's meant to make the Trump administration's massive successes since he's been back in office, changing the economy back in favor of the people, closing the border totally, law and order, and we're seeing the decrease in numbers across the country in terms of murders and homicides because of the actions of this president. They want to impeach him. That is the goal here.
Well, it's also kind of a soft coup as well, because the whole point is to thwart a duly elected president and what the American people voted in 2024, which, by the way, was mass deportation, so much so that President Trump won all 7 swing states as well as the popular vote and won heavy Hispanic counties like Starr County. Yeah. So that's what the American people wanted, and these individuals are out using violence to try to thwart those objectives.
No, absolutely. Listen, these protests, I guess, erupted yesterday. We saw a little bit of violence in L.A. I don't know that the passion and energy is really there. To your point, Gianno, about some of the George Floyd protests, that good, bad, or indifferent, there was an honest passion about them, it seemed like. It's not there on this one, and I think this will blow over. All right, coming up, Iran is on the clock to make a deal with the U.S. as President Trump deploys a massive armada to the region.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.